What if the key to feeling younger after 60 isn't about adding more to your life, but about finally letting go? Think about it. For decades, you've carried responsibilities, raising families, building careers, caring for others, and along the way, you've picked up invisible weights. Guilt for saying no, regrets for paths not taken, roles you've outgrown but still cling to. These aren't just part of aging. They're anchors. And here's the truth. They're stealing from you, draining your joy, clouding your peace, making every day feel heavier than it needs to be. But today, that stops, because we're going to talk about the 7 things you need to release, not just for simplicity, but for freedom, for the lightness you used to feel before life, piled on the shoulds and what ifs. And the last one, it's the burden no one talks about, the one that whispers, "You don't matter anymore." And when you finally drop it, everything changes. So if you're ready to breathe easier, to wake up lighter, to finally put down what's been weighing you down for years, keep listening, because your future self is already thanking you. Number 1, the guilt of putting yourself first. Let's start with the biggest one, the guilt of putting yourself first. If that sentence just made you shift uncomfortably, you're not alone. After a lifetime of giving, to kids, to partners, to jobs, to parents, the idea of prioritizing yourself can feel wrong, like you're breaking some unspoken rule. But here's what no one tells you, that guilt, it's a trap. Take Margaret. At 68, she'd spent years as the glue of her family, hosting holidays, mediating arguments, dropping everything to help. But one year, she did something unthinkable. She canceled the annual reunion, sent a text saying, "This year I'm taking a trip alone." And the response? Silence. Then, panic. Who'll organize the games? What about Grandma's recipes? But Margaret went anyway. Booked a cabin by a lake, spent a week reading, painting, and remembering who she was before she became mom or nana. And when she came back, something surprising happened. Her family adapted. Her daughter hosted the next reunion. Her grandkids learned to cook her famous pie. And Margaret, she realized something crucial. She hadn't been needed the way she thought. She'd just never given them the chance to step up. That's the irony of guilt. It convinces you that saying no will hurt others, when really, it's the only way they learn to grow. So here's your challenge. The next time you're about to say yes out of obligation, pause. Ask yourself, if I say no, what's the worst that could happen? Maybe someone's disappointed for a day. Maybe plans change. But what do you gain? Rest, space, the chance to finally hear your own thoughts again. You've spent decades caring for others. This chapter, it's about caring for yourself without apologies. Because the people who truly love you, they don't love you for what you do. They love you for who you are, and who you are, she's worth prioritizing. You've spent decades caring for others. This chapter, it's about caring for yourself without apologies. Because the people who truly love you, they don't love you for what you do. They love you for who you are and who you are. She's worth prioritizing. Number 2, the perfect legacy pressure. Now let's talk about something that keeps so many of us up at night, the crushing weight of leaving a perfect legacy. We've been conditioned to believe our worth is measured by what we leave behind. The flawless family reputation, the spotless career, the picture-perfect memories. But here's the liberating truth. Your legacy isn't a performance. It's not a museum curation of your best moments. It's the real, raw, beautifully imperfect impact you've had just by being you. Consider Ruth, a 72-year-old retired school principal who kept every lesson plan, award, and student thank you note in meticulously organized boxes. She was determined to leave a legacy of excellence until her granddaughter asked to see photos of Ruth as a young woman. As they sorted through old albums, Ruth realized something profound. Her granddaughter wasn't captivated by the certificates and achievements. She lit up seeing Ruth's failures and adventures. The motorcycle trip through Europe, the failed bakery business, the time she got arrested at a protest. "Grandma," she said, "this is the story I want to tell my kids." We think legacy is about polishing our history when really, it's about passing on our humanity. Those imperfect moments, they're the ones that give others permission to be fully themselves. That time you lost your temper but apologized, that's legacy. The dream you pursued even when you failed, that's legacy. The love you gave imperfectly but consistently, that's the legacy that actually shapes generations. Try this, write one true sentence about your life that you'd never put in an official biography. Maybe it's, "I once lied to get a job I loved," or "I stayed in a bad marriage 5 years too long." That uncomfortable truth, that's where your real legacy begins. Because when we stop performing perfection, we give others the courage to live authentically. And speaking of authenticity, that brings us to the next heavy weight we need to release. Number 3, outdated roles. For decades, you've worn certain labels like a second skin, the caretaker, the problem solver, the rock. These roles served you once. But here's the uncomfortable question. What if the identity you cling to is now keeping you stuck? After 60, we often confuse who I've been with who I truly am. And that confusion costs us our freedom. Carlos at 72 was still Dad the provider. Even though his children were in their 40s, every month, he secretly covered his daughter's credit card bill. Every crisis, he wrote a check to fix it. Until the day his cardiologist said, "Your stress is killing you." And his son confessed, "We'll never grow up if you keep saving us." That's when Carlos did the bravest thing. He stopped. Not with anger, but with love. He sat his family down and said, "I need to trust you to handle your own lives now." The first year was painful, but then his daughter got promoted. His son started budgeting. And Carlos, he rediscovered his love for woodworking, not as escape, but as pure joy. Here's the truth we rarely hear. Your loved ones don't need your sacrifice. They need your faith in them. Every time you insist on being the strong one, you rob others of their chance to discover their strength. Every dollar you give that comes from obligation rather than abundance, that's not love, that's fear in disguise. Try this today. Notice when you automatically put on an old role. When your son complains about work, do you immediately jump to advice? Pause, say instead, "That sounds hard. What do you think you'll do?" But that small shift, that's the beginning of your liberation. And once we shed these outdated roles, we create space for something far more precious. Number 4, unfinished regrets. That dream you packed away years ago, the one that still whispers to you in quiet moments, it's not dead. It's just waiting for you to stop telling it. It's too late. After 60, we often mistake the calendar for a stopwatch, counting down what's left instead of seeing what's still possible. Meet Evelyn. At 65, she finally pulled out the poetry notebooks she'd hidden since college. Pages filled with words she'd never shown anyone. Not her husband, not her book club, certainly not a publisher. Who publishes their first book at my age? She thought. Then one morning, she woke up with a terrifying clarity. The only thing older than her was her regret if she never tried. 6 months later, her collection, Late Blooming, won a local writing prize. But here's what mattered more. When she read her work aloud at the library, a woman in her 70s came up crying. "You've given me permission to start my novel," she said. That's when Evelyn understood our some days aren't just for us. They're beacons for others still waiting to begin. Regret doesn't come from what we did wrong. It comes from what we didn't do at all. That painting class, that trip to Ireland, that business idea. The clock didn't stop you. The story you told yourself about time did. Because here's the secret. The most powerful creative force isn't youth. It's experience. And you're richer with it than ever before. Today, do this. Take out a sheet of paper. At the top, write, "If not now." Then list 3 things you've postponed. Not grand bucket list items, the simple longings you've dismissed as silly. The garden, the guitar lessons, the memoir. Now circle 1 and ask yourself not can I, but what's the smallest step I could take this week? And when we finally silence those too late whispers, we suddenly hear another voice we've been ignoring for far too long. Number 5, toxic positivity. We've been sold a dangerous lie that happiness after 60 means painting on a smile no matter what. That being strong means never admitting pain, never speaking grief, never saying this hurts. But here's the truth your soul already knows. Forced positivity isn't optimism. It's emotional suffocation, and today we're setting that burden down. Meet retired Colonel James Whitmore. For 42 years, he served his country, then spent another decade serving the expectation that he should be the cheerful grandpa. When his wife passed, he plastered on smiles at family gatherings. When his arthritis flared, he joked about old bones. Until one afternoon, watching his grandson struggle with a school bully, something broke open. "It's okay to be angry," James heard himself say. And in that moment, he realized he'd been bullying himself, silencing his own valid anger about his loss, his pain, his fears. That week, he started visiting the VA's grief group. Not to fix anything, just to say out loud, "Some days, I'm just so damn mad." And for the first time in years, he began to feel genuine peace. Listen closely. Your darkness doesn't cancel your light. It makes your light meaningful. That's sadness about aging. It doesn't negate your gratitude. That anger at your limitations, it doesn't erase your wisdom. Real emotional freedom isn't about feeling only joy. It's about giving yourself permission to feel all of it. The grief, the fear, the frustration, without judgment. Try this radical act today. When someone asks, "How are you?" you can tell a sliver of truth. Not the performative, "Oh, fine." Not trauma dumping. Just one honest sentence. "Today's a heavy day," or "I'm struggling but grateful." Watch what happens. Most people will meet you at that level of authenticity. And those who can't, that says everything about their limitations, not yours. And when we finally stop performing happiness, we make space for something extraordinary. The quiet, unshakable joy that comes from being holy, messily, imperfectly alive at every age. Number 6, the liberation of letting go. When less stuff means more life. That drawer full of old keys that fit no locks. The closet packed with clothes you haven't worn in a decade. The spare room that's become a museum of maybe someday. We tell ourselves we're keeping things out of practicality, but here's the uncomfortable truth. Our homes have become visible manifestations of our invisible burdens. And today, we're going to break those chains. Meet Richard and Elaine. For 38 years, they filled their 4-bedroom home with memories, their children's artwork, vacation souvenirs, Richard's father's tools. But when the kids moved out, the house didn't feel empty. It felt heavy. Every room demanded maintenance. Every object whispered, "Remember when." Then one rainy Tuesday, Elaine had enough. "Let's sell it all," she said. Not just the house, the accumulated weight of their past. They moved into a downtown loft with just what they loved and needed. That first morning, Richard stood in the empty space and did something spontaneous. He danced with his wife to a song on the radio. No furniture to bump into, no boxes to navigate around, just space, physical and emotional, to be fully present in their new chapter. Here's what no organizer will tell you. Clutter isn't about the objects. It's about the stories we attach to them. That chipped vase isn't just ceramic, it's proof I was a good hostess. Those unused golf clubs aren't just metal. They're evidence I was once athletic. We keep things not because we need them, but because we're afraid to lose the versions of ourselves they represent. But here's the magic. When you let go of the object, you don't lose the memory. You simply stop being its curator and start being its living legacy. Start here. Today, choose one drawer, one shelf, one corner. Not to organize, to liberate. Hold each item and ask, does this serve who I am today? Not who I was, not who I might be. Who I am, keep only what passes that test. And as you work, notice this extraordinary truth. With every object you release, you're not losing something. You're gaining space to breathe, to dream, to be. And when we finally clear the physical weight, we come face to face with the deepest burden of all. Number 7, the greatest liberation: when you stop chasing immortality. Beneath all the other weights we carry, there's one that ties them all together. The quiet terror that whispers, "When I'm gone, will I leave any mark at all?" We collect achievements. We cling to roles. We stockpile possessions, all trying to answer that one aching question. But what if everything we've been taught about legacy is wrong? Sarah, a hospice nurse of 30 years, noticed something remarkable. In their final days, her patients never asked for diplomas or bank statements. They didn't pore over photo albums of their career highlights. What they reached for were the ordinary moments: the handwritten note from a granddaughter, the worn recipe card in a mother's handwriting, the memory of laughing until they cried with old friends. One patient, a former CEO, held only 2 things in his final week: his wedding band and a seashell his daughter had given him when she was 6. All those years climbing the ladder, he told Sarah, and this shell outlasts every trophy. Here's the truth we're never taught. You are not what you produced. You are how you loved. Not the monuments you built, but the hands you held. Not the speeches you gave, but the silences you made comfortable. That afternoon, you put everything aside to listen to a child's endless story. That matters more than any title you ever earned. Try this today. Take out your phone and record yourself saying 3 sentences that have nothing to do with your accomplishments. Maybe, "I always loved how the light came through the kitchen window in the afternoon." Or, "Your laugh reminds me of my grandfather's." Or simply, "I see you and you matter." Send it to someone who wouldn't expect it. This isn't about being remembered, it's about remembering others while you still can. And in that act, you'll find the peace you've been seeking all along. And so we come full circle. The things we've carried for so long, the guilt, the roles, the regrets, the masks, the clutter, the fear, they were never the price of a life well lived. They were just weights we thought we deserved to bear. But now you know the secret. Freedom isn't something you find. It's something you uncover by finally letting go. Look at everything we've carried. The guilt, the perfect masks, the roles that no longer fit, the dreams we called too late, the emotions we stuffed away, the clutter that anchored us to the past, the fear of fading quietly into the dark. For years, we thought these were the prices of a life well lived. But now we know the truth, they were just weights. And today we've begun the sacred work of setting them down. Not because we're giving up, but because we're finally choosing to show up. As you close this video, I want you to imagine something. Picture yourself standing at the edge of a quiet lake at dawn. In your hands, all those burdens we've named. One by one you kneel down and let the water take them. Watch as they drift away, not disappearing forever, but finally taking up the right amount of space in your story. No more, no less. The ripples calm. The sun rises, and there you are, not defined by what you've carried, but by the hands that are now free to embrace whatever comes next. So tell me, friend, which weight will you release first? Let me know in the comments. And if this journey meant something to you, share it with one person who's still carrying too much. Because the most beautiful thing we can give each other isn't advice. It's the courage to finally set it all down. Until next time, keep making space for love, for joy, for the extraordinary, ordinary life that's waiting for you right now. Before you go, yes, you who just spent this time choosing freedom over weight, do 3 things for me. First, tap that like button if even one of these 7 truths resonated with you. That little click tells the algorithm more of this, please, so others can find their way to this conversation too. Second, hit subscribe with that little bell. Why? Because this channel is all about uncovering the untold stories of life after 60, the real, raw, hopeful ones we don't talk about enough. And friends, we're just getting started. Third, share this with one person who's still carrying too much. Maybe it's your sister drowning in clutter. Your friend stuck in "I should have" regrets. Or maybe, just maybe, it's your own younger self who needs permission to let go. So go ahead, like, subscribe, share, then take a deep breath. The kind that fills all that new space you've created. And know this, the best chapters aren't behind you. They're the ones you'll write tomorrow. Unburdened, unapologetic, and utterly yours. Until next time, keep making space for magic. I'll see you in the comments.